Hello, and welcome back to Wonderland Asylum. We're back today with issue 31 of the Hachette Partworks release of Titanic, the ship, the legend. Okay, so what's in the magazine today? Well, more help at hand, an issue about the Californian, which was in the area. The captain was asleep in the captain's office as opposed to in his quarters. The wireless operator was on duty. Now, the couch in the captain's office was 5 feet long, and the captain was nearly 6 feet tall. So it wouldn't have been very comfy for him to sleep there. So there's a lot of different theories as to why the Californian was there during a coal strike, floating out in the middle of the Atlantic near where the Titanic sank, with no passengers on board. But, you know, we won't go into that one. So yeah, article in the Californian, information about its route and where it was, chatting about the wireless, because basically the wireless operator from the Californian, who was due to be on duty, fell asleep and therefore didn't get the Titanic's distress call. Obviously the story goes that Titanic was just supposed to sink, the Californian was supposed to be nearby, Titanic sends out the distress call, Californian comes, picks up all the passengers, sails to New York, nobody dies, White Star Line get all the money. Port workers, because there was a lot of workers' strikes in that era as well, and that's it, we're on to the parts. So, let's have a look at what we get in this issue. Okay, so today's box is relatively lightweight, and what we have in it is a variety of pipes, little fittings, no screwing in this one, it's all glue, magnificent, and yeah, a ton more spindly pipe work, just there. Make sure we've got all the pipes out. Get rid of the box. Have a wee look. Now there will be a brief pause in the video because there is a wheel which goes on, and I don't want it to be silver. I want that wheel to be red. So what I'll do is I'll build the rest. I'll leave the wheel on to paint it, but I will show you where it goes. And then for the recap video at the end, it'll be painted. Okay. Just wanted to kind of add that on there. Now, as I said, we've been working on, in the last couple of issues, this engine here. Spin, spin, spin. I can't resist, okay? But it tells you in the magazine specifically to go back to this engine that we completed in issue 10, the one which doesn't have the end cap glued onto it. So I'll need to remove it from the engine room housing, put the engine room floor to the side, and this is the one we're going to be working on. So I will get the first few bits ready and I will be back just momentarily. Okay, so the first thing we need is in this bag here, and these are essentially little catwalks. Let's make sure we've got them all. Now they have 4 pins on them, and they go into these 4 slots. Now they go there, 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 and there. Now, and they go in, I'll put this one in just to show you the orientation. If I can get it to stay in, no I can't. It goes in with the arch upwards. Now, the issue you're going to have is this end one and the one that goes in the other end are going to be absolutely fine. But you then have to get in between all of these pistons to do the other ones, which may not be so much fun. So for this one, tweezers are going to be your friend. Now the end one you can get in without any dramas at all. So again, I've got my glue, I've got my applicator. Again, that's why I use this applicator, because it lets me get into little nooks and crannies like this without just splodging glue everywhere. This glue is very strong and very fast acting, which is good, because when you're putting these in, you want them to stay at a 90-degree angle to the floor. You don't want them to be crooked like so. So you want them to sit at 90 degrees. So you need to give the super glue a minute to set, because even though this stuff does set quickly, it doesn't set just as quickly between plastic and metal. So just giving it a moment. There we go, that's it starting to hold now, and you can see there, that's what that looks like. Now, I think what I'm going to do for the rest of them is apply the glue to the actual pins themselves rather than the slots, because it's going to be very difficult to get into the slots, and I don't want to risk touching the pistons with my glue stick, in essence, because that wouldn't be a lot of fun to try and fix. So what I'm going to do is get the tweezers, slide it in, line all the holes up, push it into place, make sure it's sitting properly. That one wasn't too bad either, actually. Hold it for a few seconds just till it glues into place. Okay. This is going to be absolutely doable. It's just going to take a little bit of time. You can see there how that looks. So what I'll do is, there are 8 of these in total. 16 if you include the fact that you have to do it to the other engine as well, not just this one. But yeah, that's them 2 on there. And after I do each one, I'm going to give the pistons a turn just to make sure I haven't stuck anything together. And yeah, that's all good. Okie dokie, so I'm going to do the rest of these, and then I'll come back to you. There's no point in me making you sit and watch me glue every single one of these in. Okay? Okay, so that's all of those little gantries there all fitted. And they do look good. It does look really, really nice. And as I say, after each application, because you can't help but bump the pistons in the middle, give them all a turn to make sure you haven't glued anything together, because you can see how close those 2 in the middle are. Those 2 there are very, very close to the crank rods and everything that's turning. So yeah, just make sure you haven't glued anything together. So the next parts we need are in this little baggie here. And it is this part here. Oh no, that part is actually not part of it. It's this part here, so it's sort of like a spinning wheel, and this part here. Now these are the reversing gear, which is the bit that looks like a spindle, and the other part is just called Detail 31J. So now this one has a D-shaped connector, and I'll pick it up and show you. It will be going in that little hole just there. Now it says it may not need glue. It may or may not need glue. I think it's just a little bit loose. So I'm going to just tap a little bit of glue in, because as I've said before, you know, some of these bits might fit and you look at it and go, it's alright. But unless I'm very, very convinced that it's a very tight fit, it just goes in like that, I am 100% going to glue it, because it's one of those ones that you're not going to have great access to fix this later on. So yeah, so the next bit is, as I say, it looks like a spinning wheel almost. The reversing gear, it goes into, I'll dab the glue in while I'm at it, this hole here, and this hole just here. And again, it will only fit one way, because the pegs are slightly offset. You can see by the model. There we go, that goes in just like that. Nice little bit of detail there. And the next thing it tells you to do is to take this wheel and stick it on. Now to me that should be red, that shouldn't be silver. So what I am going to do is get a bit of blue tack, stick it underneath it and paint this red. But I'm going to do that once I've assembled the rest of it, because I don't think there's anything that goes in the road of this. So I'm going to put the spindle for the wheel, which looks like this. But again, it will only fit one way, and it's a D-shaped fitting. It goes in just in front of the bit that we've just put in. You can just see the hole there. So again, tiny little bit of glue, not much. Again, it tells you to glue the wheel on before sticking the detail in. I personally don't see the point in that. Even if I wasn't going to keep it off to paint it, I would still put the detail in before I put the wheel on, purely because there you go, it's far easier to manipulate and then just pin the wheel on the outside. So as I say, I will paint this at the end and attach it thereafter. There's a long one, there's still lots and lots of parts. So the next one we need is one of the big pipes. So let's have a look and see which pipe it wants. I don't think it's this one. Nope. Is it this one? Nope, it is this one. And if you can see, it has the kind of notch in that end there. And where it is essentially going, or not where it is going, is you can see there are 3 holes underneath the cylinder heads. So I'm going to dab a bit of glue into them. Again, it says you may need glue. So I'm going to put glue in, because again, I don't want any of these parts coming off. And just line up the end one. Again, this is the issue that you have, is once you start putting spindly bits in, come on, there we go, there we are, that's how that looks. If you push too hard on the wrong piece, she gon' snap. And you definitely don't want that. Okay, so the next piece we need is in this little bag here. And it looks like this. And again, it's a D-shaped fitting. It only goes in one way, but there's only one way it can go, because the end of it is going into the notch, see on that pipe there, and into that little hole on the cylinder head. So if you put your glue in there, and then there's a D-shaped hole just in there that you can almost see, and it goes in there. Okay. Now I think the easiest way to do it is going to be put it in the bottom hole first, make sure it fits in, line the top hole up perfect. Well, it took me longer to explain it than it did to do it. It looks just like that. And next, there's a lot of instructions here, but it takes like 3 or 4, what's the word, attempts to explain the same process. So the next one I need is this big massive tube, and it does say you won't need glue for this one. So one end goes, yeah, it's very, very tight. Okay, I may actually need to sand a little bit off it, but if you get one side in and line the other side up, yeah, that's one of the reasons it's so important to have the cylinder heads. Oh, you bugger. Yeah, that's what I was trying to avoid doing, because that is me just broken nearly all of the cylinder heads. One of them actually came off, but one of them is now completely broken. Fantastic. Fortunately I have a spare issue that came in, so I can just stick a new one on, but yeah, that's why you have to be careful when applying any sort of force. I will leave my mistake in, but yeah, there you go. That's what that ridiculous pipe looks like. Just make sure I haven't knocked anything else off in the process. No, I haven't. Just broken the top of the cylinders. Fantastic. And then the next pipe I need is this one, which looks like this. And it is going along, I think it's the holes in the bottom, if I am reading it correctly. Let's just see where it's going, because it's not awfully clear. Oh, in fact, no, doesn't want this one on until a minute's time. Give me a minute and I'll have a look and see if I can figure out what's going where here, because the instructions aren't all that clear. Give me 2 seconds. So the next pipe we need is this one, with the kink at the end, and it's going into the holes in the cylinder, just there, like that. So I'll put the glue in. Again, just here, 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 and there. Still can't believe I did that. That's really, really annoyed me now. But hey, oh, it happens. And I didn't actually need to put glue in that hole at the end there, by the way. There isn't a socket to go in there. So again, that was me making another mistake. Whee! I'm on a roll today. And I think that's all I need to do for this side. Yep, it is indeed. So that is this side finished, with the exception of, as I mentioned, the wheel that I'm going to do later. So now we're moving on to the other side. And the first thing you need is this big section of pipe, and it is going to be going, simply enough, into these 4 sockets that you can see on the cylinder heads. It said you shouldn't need glue, so, and the join in the pipes goes towards the crank pulley at the front. So again, let's see, hopefully I can put this on without smashing the engine to bits. Maybe? Yeah, there we go. That is very, very tight. But okay, looks quite good, doesn't it? The whole engine assembly actually looks very good. I'm just going to make sure this is still turning. Yep, it is turning very, very nicely. Awesome. Okay, and we're on to the final page. There are 2 more bits of pipe and, as I say, the wheel to fit. So the smaller kinked piece of pipe, the kinky pipe, not the kinky party, it goes into the engine again on this side, and it goes in between these pipes. So one side goes into this hole just here, and the other side goes into this hole just here, in between the cooling vanes. And it goes in, well, it'll only go one way, but with the pipe coming off the end pointing toward, away from the crank pulley, towards the back of the engine area. Okay. There we go. It goes in looking just like that. Again, another nice wee bit of detail. And then we have our final piece of piping for this issue. And it's going to go in these holes just on the bottom of the cylinder head there. There are 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it goes in this way, with the 2 dots facing towards the crank pulley. It's the best way I can describe it, so that that pipe hangs round the front of the engine, because it's going to join up with something else in either the next stage or the stage after. But that looks just like that. Okay, so aside from the fact that I broke one of the exhausts, and yeah, rather upset about myself with that, to be honest, but it is what it is. Everything still turns as it should, so yeah, all good. I'm just going to paint the wheel, so I'll get my paint ready and I'll be back in just a sec. Okay, so annoyingly enough, I filmed again. There's the wheel. I filmed me, you know, turning that red, and my camera didn't bother to record it. Fantastic. So again, it's going in here, just like that. Again, far easier I think than gluing it in before you put the thing in, but look at that, that makes some difference than it being silver. Now, I mean, you might never see that piece, in fact you probably won't, but I'll know it's there and I'll know it's the right colour. But yeah, that is us for issue 31. It was not a particularly easy one, I've got to be honest. Again, I have a spare valve from, I think it's issue 10, that I'm going to replace it with. It's just really annoyed me doing that. That's why it's so important to be so careful. If you're doing this, I would maybe sand these down a little bit and apply glue rather than try and pressure fit it, because they are very tight and there's not a lot that you can grab a hold of without breaking stuff. So yeah, let my mistake be your lesson. Yeah, but that's us done for issue 31. Okay, so that's us for issue 31 of Titanic Ship the Legend. What's in issue 32? Lots more wee fiddly bits. As I say, I have that here, so we're catching up. I've only got issues 32, 33, 34, 35 and 36 still sitting to be done. So that is how that engine is looking. I think it looks fantastic. I genuinely do love all the new details that have been added. But I did promise, someone in my comments in the last video had said they had problems with the engine not turning properly. Now, I did notice something on mine and I fixed it. And that's why, because you can see this is my second engine and it turns exceptionally smoothly. Look at these pistons along here. If one of them is out of alignment, or if it's been pushed in, because sometimes they do that when you're building it all together, it won't turn properly. So if you look at the way they're turning there, these pistons should all stick out the side when they're lined up. So make sure they all line up like that. That's the best advice I can give, because it wasn't like that with mine, and that was what was causing the problem, that mine didn't want to turn properly. But I will do as I always do, and I will reassemble the engine bay floor so we can all have a look and see how it's looking. Give me 2 seconds. Could have paused the camera, but I don't see the point for the 2 seconds this is going to take. So that is what the engine bay is looking like just now with all those new details added. Yeah, I was right. You're not going to see the red wheel, but I don't care. I know it's right. So yeah, but that is what the engine bay is looking at, and that's what these details have done. So we're adding more to this engine in the next issue, and then we're going to be doing the same on this engine. Bit repetitive, but hey ho, that is what it is. But thank you for watching, as always. If you liked the video, leave me a like. If you've anything to say to me, leave me a comment. Always appreciated. Consider subscribing to the channel as well, so you can get updates about this and any future projects. Other than that, thank you very much. Join me for issue 32, where we're expanding further on the engines. And as always, guys, peace out.